All right, everybody, we're back here on a Thursday and featuring this little 5-minute chart over the intro. Something to look at right now, little QQQ 5-minute bat pattern. Market's been up a little bit this morning, but then giving it back. Doing a little bit, not much, doing a few things. Actually, was just in the Discord, posted a QQQ pattern. A put pattern for a short-term option trade. It was this one. Still looking at favoring some put options. That's tomorrow's 368 on the QQQ. So, I still think that's what's going on here. And I think it's probably best to start with that longer-term QQQ chart because where are we within the context of the daily time frame, the daily pause? We've been talking about pause. How far is this going to go? How far can we expect this thing to come in? Already falling off. I mean, the action of the last 10 days, demonstratively different than what we saw from March until July. I think pretty safe to say this is going to continue, more digestion, continuation before any continuation. So, and I'm still going to favor those. You had check it out on a 5-minute. You continue to print a lot of really nice 5-minute setups across the board. I mean, this is one of them. But this morning we had crab pattern right at the top here. Where'd you go? Oh, I think it was on a 30-second chart. Just intraday, looking for intraday opportunities. There you go. Really nice 30-second chart, and I like to look at the 5-minute versus 30-second time frames if I'm specifically looking at intraday moves. And here's one right now. I mean, look, check it out. We have a crab pattern this moment, but pretty lackluster. I would say this is going to come down for even a deeper test down to 369. Let's see how that goes. Even the 5-minute pattern that we started with today, check it out. No confirmation there. So let's keep an eye on that. That's kind of a midday thing developing, but we're pulling back. The S&P was up 30. Now it's up 13. The Qs were up 4 and change. Now they're up $1.35. I think, under 368, you got a problem. Not a problem, but a deeper retracement. So, just see how that shapes up. But daily time frame for both that and the SPY, I mean, nothing's really changed. This pause continues. Take a look at all the sessions from the last several weeks. There's your daily time frame. Okay. Yellow dot was last week. There's really just a lot of, I'm kind of repeating myself from the last several sessions, but let's get some targets, at least some short-term targets. 363, it's just a back test of the bearish pattern we have been talking about all along. For this little pause retracement move is a minimum objective. So we're not, you see the markets, you see Apple, you see the rest of them that were, just tearing it up. April, May, June, July. Now what are we doing? Got to come back. Got to hit some targets. So that makes sense. And then the possibility, longer term possibility, I want everyone to put this in their brain, is a QQQ retest eventually to 336.90. But that's not going to happen straight off. We're going to have a few ups and downs, en route to that, but take it in one level at a time. That would represent like a larger possibility if we come October, something happens late September, October. That's the thought here. And you're still only retracing, 30% of the whole gain from January. If you get to this 336, right now you're just in a little 10% pullback. It's really nothing big. So 363, let's see how today shapes up, because if they roll it over today and they keep selling off with these kind of daily candles, you want to be aware of that. Let's watch this 5-minute time frame. I think that's a make or break, and look at what the indicators are doing. They need to pop out now if you're going to do anything. Let's take a quick look at really like the top 5. Big top 5 stocks that, again, most of them have it. Microsoft, here's number 1. This is daily and weekly. Probably best to look at the weekly for those weekly ranges. But I don't think 308's a stretch. So 308 on this move on a weekly chart. Same deal with Apple, and we could make Apple number 2 because that actually is surprisingly weak on your daily level. That target one down here, 169.94. So just let's understand why things are doing what they're doing right now. understand why that is. These continue to be lackluster. We're in clear type 1 reaction across the board. So it's going to be like this. It's going to be a slog until you get down and hit some levels and try to set up for something later in the year, if not longer. You got to get through that. Number 3, let's make that NVIDIA. And this is just another pullback within a long-term uptrend. You need to see HSI. We talked about that last time. Important to note that NVIDIA is hitting oversold on your daily amplified RSI. So that's a starting point too, but you can see how these are continue to retrace during this pause, and they need to do some other things. You need to get some short-term daily oversold signals. And then give me some pattern. Give me something on a 4-hour. Here you go. Gartley is right off the top here for NVIDIA. HSI on the 4-hour is trying to trigger now, but listen, we know that the larger zone around 415 is still possible. I've been saying this for a while. 415, 420 on the low end, 460 on the top end. But nothing changes. I mean, you're still, even if that's early, you're still consolidating this. So let's look at Meta, because Meta's finally coming off here, and same deal. Let it come in. Let this thing, this is actually acting a little bit stronger than the rest. That's still the kind of assumption here for Meta, continuing to trend on a absolute rope, but watching if this thing rolls over. 350 is the all-time 886. Let me just stretch it out. That would be the eventual objective. The last HSI that we've seen is bullish, so that's a little bit better, hanging in there a little bit better than others. And then we could put a whole bunch of other techs. Netflix is one where this one's probably much like, put it in the class of Microsoft and Apple. Verifiable patterns, much lower target. This one, in fact, is I think even has a further to go than Microsoft and Apple. But we said this on Tuesday, 437 is really critical. Like if this fails 437 on Netflix and starts to roll over again, starts to break down. I mean, it's up 6 today, but it kind of has these reactive moves, hits 437, gets rejected, and trying to break down, frankly. And this is a target 1 at 387. That's probably what we do. Probably what we do. And then that's the pullback. That's the retracement, end of the pause that you would want for the continuation of what started last year. What else? A couple of, like I've been saying with some of these others, Amazon scraping the top end here with its bat pattern, but stalling out. So 139, 140. Don't feel like you're missing out on Amazon. That's probably coming in very soon and consolidate within this range. Just not busting through where it should bust through if it was going to be a violation. Google hanging up there, same deal, but a couple of patterns printing, and in this case it's all around like 130. So that's, and look, that's where we have the dot. Hop level was 138, but our dot came in. It's coming in on the daily right now. Was it yesterday or is it today? I think the dot is today. So looks like you're going to get confirmation. Quick question, Street Shark, what's up? He's saying, what does hop mean? You're asking high of pattern? No, HOP, harmonic optimal price, meaning it's the top end of any zone. And you guys know I'm big on zones. But I also, even though I like to deal with zones and measure zones, there has to be some kind of absolute limit. And there's a lot of metrics laid out in volume 3 that show you how to do those kind of what I call layering measurement techniques. And so check that out. But we look in that zone and tell me where the confirmation's happening in that zone. Is it happening closer to the XA or closer to the HOP level? In this case, it's at the XA. And so even, again, it's fairly clear. We're making this assumption type 1. That type 1 is initiating where target 1 to 114 it's not a stretch. Hey, check out QQQ. QQQ is rolling over right now, failing. That's the bullish side. Here's the, so I rolled back into this. I rolled back into the 368 put again at 67 cents right before we started. So I caught this move this morning back in, and now let's see if we can get to 213. But I think the QQQ is going to go back, probably fill the gap for today. Yeah, you're already there. You're getting there. We'll come back to that. But that's, listen, no one's surprised, are you? Or is anyone surprised that the pause continues? And we're going to favor more of these, I think favor more puts until we can hit these levels. In the same way we were favoring calls in June and July. And we did our seminars in June and July, and same deal here. Really quick, for everybody, especially new people, get over to harmonictrader.com, become a basic member. All you have to do is sign up at the main webpage at harmonictrader.com here, there, and then get with the software. So we've had actually an influx of new people, so welcome new people. And for those that have any questions, again, simply get with the TradingView program first, foremost, go through the material, send your username to hpc@sr-analyst.com. And then the material, really the best reference material is go to volume 3, which you can get here for free as a PDF. And go through that, because that's got a summary of all the patterns, but then the more complex things of confirmation and targets and everything you want to look at, and even some HSI is in there. Finally, the videos that we have, we'll talk about even more detailed strategies like HOP and all the rest, target 1, type 2. Here we go. Okay, I just missed a $200 move. There you go. All right, let's see what happens here. That was a pop and roll. QQQ is just bouncing around. Almost went to even on the day. Regardless, Google right now, daily type 1. We have to go with it. We're going to print a dot. We get a bearish candle today, which very likely that we will. Then you're going to get a yellow dot. That should set it off. So even those stronger ones that we've mentioned, Amazon and Google last week, Amazon gave us a big pop off of some nice patterns, not following through. And these are at the top end. I do want to show really quick before I move on, Apple's got something right here that I posted in the Discord yesterday, and it just finally gave us a yellow dot confirmation today, and that's at 178, right where we are now. But I'm concerned about that. Really nice 1 hour pattern, and I think it's interesting to look at this because this signaled a couple days ago, but zero confirmation, and then look, bearish HSI, almost confounding. Multiple bearish HSIs, but you look at that as a warning signal. It's bearish HSI in a bullish zone. How does that happen? And then your first bullish confirmation was several days later after the fact. So I'm looking down here, looking at Apple, because if Apple doesn't hold the 178 level, then it does kick in and we make that move down to target one. Again, 169. There's really no room. There's no in between here. So if we get into next week and this starts happening, or it does start to shoot that gap, we continue lower, this is what I'm talking about. So just be aware of that. A lot of things on major markets, again, daily, weekly time frames, just going target to target. Couple more. Let's some of the bigger ones, go back to SPY, where SPY is right now, basically 450. We got a yellow dot in SPY a couple days ago. Interestingly enough, though, we do have a high-level bullish HSI in this area, so we got to watch what happens here. Again, if this really breaks down, that should just annihilate it. Otherwise, you would need a couple of days even to hang in up here. So that's why I'm watching for what a potential breakdown could possibly mean. And it doesn't look, Apple's barely positive on the day. And Tesla, Meta, these are all just fractional gainers, real weak summer action. There's no follow through here. Couple more. Let's look at who put that up. Justin. Yeah, Rivian. Look, Rivian's in a type 2 return now. And Rivian looked like it was going to try to make a run, but we had a yellow dot and then we broke the trend line. And so anticipating that until we have another pattern, a bullish yellow dot, or even a full retest. I mean, we just got to let that kind of come in and do its thing after the obvious type 1 reaction. It really was on the trend line break. Hit target 1, went as high as 28, even though target 1 was 22 and change. Then does a yellow dot and still goes sideways for 30 days. But truly, the trend line break off of that low, that tells you reaction's over. Several of these are doing that. Several of these did it. NEO did that. And NEO's rolling over. So why not come back and have a retest, type 2 retest? And that's 1050. We've seen this happen. Couple of other individual issues. Look, Clean Spark, I forget, somebody mentioned this morning. In the same way, but backwards with the bearish pattern, we still look for type 1 reaction, type 2 reversal with the return in between. And so, here's Clean Spark. They had earnings today. Did the type 1 move down to 536, basically $5, and this was the 1-2 we were looking at on all of those as well. I mean, if it's Clean Spark or Riot, a couple of others, that's the 1-2 framework. If you're not aware of that, check that out in volume 3. There's lots of material about type 1, type 2 reaction, reversal. Here's Riot Blockchain. Okay, still just rolling over. I think, was it Riot or was it Mara? Riot's oversold on a daily, but hasn't triggered anything just yet. But was it, maybe it was Mara that had hit target. I'll have to come back to this. Either way, I think, you're looking for those to do their pullback, just like Clean Spark, and then hit the target and end that reaction. I'll come back to this. And then, of course, there's Overstock, which, listen, it did have some patterns down here on like 31 or 32 cent, 32 bucks with a crab pattern down here. Yeah, so it has my attention. I mean, these have pulled back. They've gotten oversold, at least on a daily level. Yeah, there's overstock on a daily was a shark. All right, let's see what that does. Maybe it goes shark to 5-0. Hold on. Where did I hit my price off? 1 second. Let me come back to this. So let's keep an eye on those. I really think still have a little further to go. But again, we're not surprised. And the downside, though, of, say, Microsoft or Apple to hit those targets, like Apple to get to 369, sorry, to 169, looks like this. That's a big spot to target. Leave you with that. 169.94. And again, I once we finish this, that's going to be opportunity to get back for the retest later in the year. A couple more. What's going on, chat? Good to see everybody today. David, drip dried tie dye. What's up, Evan? On Thursdays, we give away some gold memberships. So first person to type in GOLD will win a gold membership. And I'm thinking I might do one more option thing, not this month, maybe in September, on doing the daily options, like day trade the daily options. I think that would be something else to look at. Super short term, like 5-minute and 30-second charts. Big shout out though. Who was the first person in that said gold? Today was PPPKKKKKK. You won the gold. So you got to contact Miss Stephanie in the Discord. Hey, John Dwight. I'm only giving away gold memberships, but I'll give you a gold. I don't know if you got set up with that before. And please, if you have previously won, let some other people win. But get set up. Also, the option seminar, if you didn't see that, it has been posted to the gold members page. So check that out. There you go. There's QQQ. All right. Tested the hop at 368. Interesting. Maybe there's your midday low. Did we get a dot on that yet? Hold on. Did we get a 5-minute dot on the Q yet? Midday. Let me see. Yeah, we did. Okay, as I'm talking, literally, so that's what we want to look for. I knew something was up. We just got a midday dot, a yellow HSI dot. Came in, what, 20 minutes ago? All right, let's keep an eye on this. Is for today, folks. And you really need to hold that 369 for the Qs or it will fall apart into tomorrow. Trying to come up right now. Interesting. There's a lot going on. I mean, there really is a lot going on. Let me quick look at crude oil, guys, before I jump over to crypto, because what's going on over there? Seems like that thing's now perking up where we talked about, forever 75, 65 to 70. And now we've got this bearish pattern with the bat level around 85, and 85 is still the number. So let's see how much this thing can it really take off from here. I think it's like a first kind of a thrust move. And we do have some resistance targets up here. We had a few patterns, no doubt. If it's CL, or remember, we had 2 of 2. On a lot of these were type 2 moves. And what's that? Weekly shark. But look at that. Type 2, that type 2 deep crab's working out. It hit exactly. That's the amazing thing. But I just think this is a short-term thrust move on crude oil, but it's starting to at least hold in these levels where it should. Thought that's been kind of the bigger development, and you guys know, Chevron taking its time. Yeah, stalled by that shark pattern, but that's the one I'm looking for directionally. If crude oil is really going to do something, you'll see it in the stocks like that, or XLE. Couple more. Speaking of gold, let's look at GLD. That pop in recent sessions, and then a lot of noise, but that's about it. And I think that's really what it is. GLD didn't break out to all-time new highs when it should have, could have earlier this year. And then you've got your clear pattern constraints. So I don't think that's anything we need to veer from, where frame it out, that 180 on the top side. Pretty reliable resistance. Yeah, you might go a little bit above that, but this 162, 165 area, that frames out your opportunities for gold. And let's, stick with that. It seems like it's starting to do something, but no, I think it's going to be a while. Probably come back later in the fall. And we know that gold seasonally, December, that's when it does things. So between now and December, that's what we should look for. Really not even force it beyond that. So, and that leans into, of course, crypto, which, again, just kind of hold your nose. So top 5 for crypto just is a non-event. And I probably don't even need to spend that much time on what's going on here, because it is, you really can't say that much is going to transpire until Bitcoin does something, and Bitcoin can at least register, I think, a 5.0. I'm still at 28.3 to get me a 5.0. And then the 5.0 becomes, the shark becomes the 5.0 continuation pattern. But until that structurally happens, until you get another oversold reading, which is nowhere to be found, just settle in. Just settle in. It's probably, we should be going to XRP and just go on constant XRP watch to see if that does anything, because you're oversold right now, finally, on the daily, but you're not doing much. There's no pattern here. Haven't even really printed anything on the 4-hour chart. Shark pattern, but it's not that great. I mean, nothing that encompasses the whole consolidation, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it just even connect the dots, kind of give you, where's your X, A, B, C, D type of situation even right off of that explosion, it's still back at 50 cents. So I think that's important to just be mindful of it. I guess what you're really looking for here is a sell-off opportunity to take advantage of whatever's going to come next year. I really think that's probably the way to think about this, and not get your hopes up that anything's going to move anytime soon. You're more about just positioning for the longer term. Um, Ethereum, you know, what are you going to do with that? There in the 4-hour chart, a couple of patterns have developed. Most recent one, right around 1800, that doesn't change. That's the same. So, no problem. I think thing is we're at such a point where it's so lackluster. You almost want to like force the first thing that you think you see, and then nothing's going on there. It's really easy to make mistakes. I think Ethereum will print some kind of bullish pattern, and it'll be a bullish continuation pattern that when it does it, it will then give you the level you want to get in on. But it's not there yet. And even trying to trade something like that on a 4-hour time frame, it's I don't know, it's a little difficult. You haven't really done anything in 30 days at all. So watch XRP. That's why I put XRP number 2. And then, especially doing nothing here is Doge again, but I'm looking at that for retest back to 7 cents. Remember, 4-hour at 7.3, and maybe as low as 6.5. But there you go. I mean, it is. Where's the 2? It's 7.1 cents. Did that hit? It almost hit. Yeah, actually, that depending on the feed, that potentially could be a type 2 Gartley already. So if that's 2 of 2, then it should go. You should see development soon, like a 3-bar breakout. But again, I'm thinking that this is all for when Bitcoin finally starts to do something. So again, if you're in there looking for a sleeper move, you're going to have to sleep for a while. There are a lot of levels and patterns shaping up here on Doge. It could be one of these long-term super bases that doesn't move until Bitcoin really gets going, or something happens over at Twitter. Who knows? So just be aware of that. And I don't have much even in the way to offer things to be beyond that. You go to things like Bitcoin Cash, there's nothing there. I mean, if you had a pattern up here, okay, but nothing really. They're all becoming like Binance Coin setups, and there's Binance Coin with a beautiful crab pattern going flatlining. So that's certainly frustrating if you're, especially we stare at patterns and you're looking at crypto, but that's part of the deal. You have to be willing to either step aside or make the adjustment if it flatlines, especially like a 30-day, 30-week scenario. And that's what crypto's done. I mean, it's really something. But until that stuff wakes up, till Bitcoin comes to life, the rest of them aren't going to do much. What do you guys have for today? What's going on, chat? I don't know. Give me a couple nuggets for an August, a Thursday in August. Slow Thursday in August. S&P's popping a couple points. QQQ trying to get back positive on the day. Yeah, I look, I do like the fact that the QQQ setting up, but it's lower. And Microsoft, Apple. I mean, these are probably the best opportunities to be looking forward to uh, as they come together, because we know that the type 1 reaction, once that's over, that should not only give us the return move, but we know that those return moves can lead to a violation or a breakout, or that's really what we're trying to anticipate there. But we're so early. I mean, we did the first move, formed the pattern, but now you're in that retracement phase. And I'll tell you what, it reminds me of Solana. When Solana, we stared at, and people asked me for months, okay, what about Solana? Because it had this big type 2 that it had to do, or no, I'm sorry, Cardano. So it's like Cardano for months, and it had to do the big type 2. And it looks like this. And I think really this is the kind of thing where we are. You know, Cardano had that big pattern at the end of the year and did a beautiful type 1, lingered, and then finally came all the way back down for a perfect type 2. That's where we are. You know, that's really where we are with a lot of these things, where the only reason why it seems challenging is because we have to have more patience. Couple of more. Yeah. Hey, Evan, what's up? Yeah, he says, Evan's saying Doge will be up 30% in a day. Yeah, and it'll probably be down 29% the next month. Justin wants to look at Wolf Speed, which is one of those second level tech stocks. Beautiful pattern, but here comes the type 2. Take a look. Crab pattern down here. Come back, retest 50 minimum. What's the weekly? Isn't there a weekly down here too? Some big weekly pattern. Yeah. So it is a type 2 on the weekly. We did run into a counter trend HSI last week. And where's that hop test? 50 to 44. I really think we're going to get these tests. We're going to get these retests. And they're going to, be perfect type 2s. Then there you go. Speaking of type 2, here comes a type 2 right now. That type 2 on right now on the Qs on the 30-second chart. You go back to 369 right now. Interesting. Here you go. And then the other chart, I really do like this. I just think this is a sleeper chart. I think that's with the 368s. Top level is 50 cents anyway. Meanwhile, S&P's rolling over again. So that's why I think with the SPY and the Qs, with the way these are all setting up, you get like this when you're halfway through the move, and then your intraday bullish patterns can't exceed a target 2. There's the 5-minute. You come back, retest the zone right now. That's some real lackluster action. And maybe even go as low as the hop at 367. Let's see what else. What do you guys have? Let me switch up. Couple more. Yeah, Nat Gas finally had a move, right? UNG. $7. It's a massive type 2 on the weekly. There is confirmation. Hop level 734 on UNG. I like it, but it's another one that we could be sitting in UNG for 6 months. But you're down there scraping that low end. I think so. Couple more. I think you mean Exxon, XOM, ExxonMobil, a lot like Chevron. Just kind of consolidating in this upper range. Couple of patterns back to back. You know, Exxon, like a lot of these, just range bound. Range bound. You know, 103, 104, maybe back to 115 or so. Couple more. Apple just went negative on the day. Also, QQQ is back to 369. So again, I that's really the two main targets. Two main markets to be focusing on. Both of these need to hit their structural levels to target end this pause, to give you targets to end this pause. Here's SPY again. Yeah, trying to check back. You still need one more bullish day before you would even get a bullish dot. And I think come back maybe as low as 443. If today goes negative, folks, it's going to be ugly for tomorrow. SPY is rolling over. I mean, it's remarkable. Yeah. There you go. Anything, there's the 5-minute. We started with this chart. Actually, this was the first chart that was on the screen today. So there you go. No confirmation on this. Between that and the 368 put, I would say this then shoots even lower to go to the hop. I mean, look at this. This is crazy. Is that low of the day? That might be low of the day. Right there. Low is 368.47. So you're getting there. There's a 1 minute. I think anything, any call option, drip dried tie dye, any call option's just a reaction. And I hear you on Apple because we looked at Apple yesterday, but as I said, I mentioned today on Apple with that 4-hour pattern that had delayed confirmation. Check this out. So this is the concern for Apple because you're flashing a really nice 4-hour pattern with the wrong type of confirmation. And I think you could go in this pattern zone as deep as the hop level at 174.39, you know, a little bit kind of push lower. Whatever this correction was that started at the end of July, it wants to push a little lower. And then you got your daily targets right at 170. So, and that would make sense, you know, to have that get down to those levels and hit your daily target finally, you know, 169. There you go. That could happen pretty quickly. It is a remarkable week of action on Apple where you're straight down 7 out of 8 with really no stop. Couple more. Yeah. Yeah, Evan likes XRP. You know what? I like XRP. I mentioned that last time. But I do think XRP and a lot of these, we're going to have to be really patient on it. You're going to have to either let that give you some kind of HSI signal, okay, to come in there, or you would get another pattern in between now and then while hitting some longer term targets. Because if next year's up, and we'll probably come back to this in a few months and revisit this logic, but if we're really thinking next year is going to continue what started this year, this reaction makes all the sense in the world. This pullback, this type 1 pause we're dealing with right now makes all the sense in the world. And then we would trigger something at these targets as a minimum. At a minimum, we could even go lower, but I always want to just assume the minimum. Okay, be most conservative, but that's a nice gap to be shooting for. And we've been talking about this for several sessions. For now, we got to deal with that. We have to get through that type 1 pause and get to those pause targets before we can anticipate some kind of return phase. Hey, Neil, what's going on? Haven't seen you in a while. He's asking for what do I think about Stellar Lumens, XLM. That was one of the few crypto for us that actually did work out. And it was a type 2, had no follow through. So, a couple of patterns here. Right down there at the low. I mean, perfect type 2 deep crab, a small one. And this was we talked about this at 8 cents, was something we were in front of. But longer term, check out the crab. And you do have a bunch of patterns down here that's trying to mark the end of that cycle for sure. It's just like the rest. You're going to be waiting, I would think, for the larger realization of whatever that pattern's saying until next year. So that was a huge move, 8 cents to 19, and then it backed all the way to 13. What do? Are you willing to sit through all of that? I mean, it's no fun. It seems like you give a lot back to try to ride the long-term move. But that's what crypto's been doing since the top. Really since the top. But I'll look, and I think it would be a gift. If you can get a sell-off event or a retracement event that comes and gives you another opportunity that could give you, I think, something to look at. But I think it's Bitcoin. I think you have to have Bitcoin to kind of signal, give you the some kind of initiation of any of this to move. In the same way, we would need to see, or we did see, like Microsoft, Nvidia, Meta, those major tech take off first this year before anything else happened. Yeah, I mean, listen, that last cycle was insane. It was really, it was a great cycle, but we see what, crypto is not trading smoothly, going through a whole bunch of fraud shenanigans that affected, I think, the longer term trend in a way that has never happened. There's been fraud, but such high profile fraud on such large dollar figures is been an issue. So, okay, you get past all of that, and then you get on with it where Bitcoin halving cycle comes in, and then that, you start it up again. Frankly, that's kind of what you want to see there. Couple more. Drip dried tie-dye wants to look at Toyota Motors. That was something, one of ours from way back when. You're saying there's a bearish dot there. We were on Toyota Motors right at 135. Awesome hop level, type 1, and we were looking that to 166. And you're telling me there's a dot there? Yeah. In fact, back to back, bullish to bearish patterns, I would look at that. That has my attention. That not only being a type 2 on the bat pattern, but being the end of a type 1 move as well. Yep. Dave's saying, when do we start loading up on alts? I don't think you do until Bitcoin starts moving. Otherwise, you're going to sit on it. I think that's the deal. I think anybody that's gotten into that, you see what happens when it doesn't move or just kind of does a sideways grind, because there really hasn't been anything in crypto that has moved. Just, even if it's popped off and it's, it popped off and came right back. We're seeing that with Bitcoin Cash. There's a few more. A couple of market ideas. So check this out. A couple of individual things. I say there's always patterns. I always think there's patterns. Even if the market's going bearish, you're going to have patterns in all right, check this out. So here's the SQQQ before I show any of those others. This is the bearish ETF for the Qs. And, you've got some patterns down here. Deep crab, you have confirmation. All right. I think that's definitely a sign that at least some kind of reaction is going to start taking shape, and that's the counter bearish ETF, the Qs. The yellow dot confirmation just came in. What was that, 5 days ago? Was it last Friday? Yeah, probably with the close, with the way last week finished. So you do have things to be looking at. That's one. Another one might be some of these other defensive issues that have gotten crushed. And there are things that are coming back, retesting major zones. So, and I am thinking that way. I'm thinking that, hey, if we can get this pause to hit some major targets, Microsoft or Qs are going to go down to their target ones. So other markets like this is Raytheon, the old RTX, it's RTX, but it's old Raytheon. Really nice pattern. Looking for a retest. Yes, it's lower, but you're coming back against some long-term support where it's worth looking at these areas. That's one. Here's another one, Macy's. I've mentioned this before, but just to highlight the patterns that they've already completed, and a lot of these are kind of going through the 30-day longer-term consolidation, retest the zone type of deal. And so you do have things down here. Another one, kind of retail-oriented, things to get on the radar. Here's Etsy. A lot of sharks, a whole bunch of shark patterns, which is interesting too. That tells you kind of like what's happened this year with after the January early year pop. It was a big 1618 correction down. Etsy's got confirmation now. So still early, but you're back into some major zones. Kohl's, KSS. Kohl's a little further along. Although, yeah, I mean, it's a type 2 on that crab, $21. Bounced around quite a bit. Some other ones that, we're looking at these in the same way you're looking at energy a few weeks ago. Speaking of energy, here's First Energy. Another shark. and just registering HSI literally today. So, there's a bunch of these patterns that have hit, they're triggering. This is where you want to be with even in this pullback kind of environment. Let's think opportunity, definitely, and longer term opportunity. Things that you were waiting on, even like here's ARK investment. It's gone back to back. We talked about the shark setting up for a pullback to a 5-0, and I think that can happen. But if any pullback here, successful retest down here, is something I want to pay attention to. A lot of these on the first run this year, especially the ones that were really overdone, pop through the downtrend, are coming back for that retest. This is the spot where you want to look for ARK. I mean, I think it's something like, shark to 5-0 and then go. Shark to 5-0 and then go. But that's after QQQ and Microsoft and Apple all finish their type 1 pullbacks. Couple more. Here's one that I talked about. Intel. I discussed long-term options with this one. Okay, and in the seminar, I said, listen, let's start looking. It was last Friday. I said, let's start looking that day, literally that day, but really this week, we start looking for some long-term opportunities to be capturing, getting in on Intel for that eventual move to $40. And we've been dealing with deep crab pattern right into earnings, and still is. Okay, haven't really triggered anything yet, but I think you're getting close there. You've had enough of this pullback down to 33 area. 34 is a really big area where within we stair stepping all the way up 28, 30, 32, 34. This is yet another one. And the corresponding move, again, I'm thinking down here, 33, 34, to go back again, back to 37, 38. Just going to need more time. And again, pulling back with really just in sympathy with what Apple's doing and what Microsoft's doing. That's why you're not moving. That's why you're not really running. And we talked about that. I do think looking at maybe some of the SQQQ call options, like if this one had on a 4-hour time frame, really nice deep crab or regular crab right at the low. So a lot going on. I mean, there's a lot of patterns here, a lot of formations that are really close to also triggering those absolute type 2s. So don't despair, even though it seems like, okay, that was a great move and now is it over? No. Let's let it digest is a better way to think about it. One or two more. I mentioned Hershey's a while back, down around 230 to be looking at that. It's now 225. I think the daily time frame, did that register yet? Almost. Not yet. Not yet. That's another one that's pulled back. A couple of food stocks. So just throwing ideas here. Conagra brands. This is another one that's gotten hit recently, but check it out. Coming into a hop level on a crab pattern at around 30.54. I like that one down there. And I'm just trying to think opportunities. Look at some of these that have been hurt recently. Here's another one, Cracker Barrel, restaurant chain. But, shark pattern. You got things looking left. 88 at the moment, 89. I think, as low as 85. Because go back to just the last several patterns here. You're going to scrape harmonic support really soon. That's what I would do going through these, lining up opportunities, because I do think you're going to get them to trigger and give you confirmation, and we're going to want to be there when they hit and give you that inflection. Yeah, I guess we got the Fed, right? That's now? I don't even know. I have it all turned off. I really do. I probably have turned it off even more so than normal to avoid it. I think we got to just be thinking framework assessments, where we are across the board. Otherwise, we can get caught up in that hype. And, let's just kind of circle back and finish up with this. Because I do think it's always good to feature 2, 3 major charts as your macro guide, if you will. The QQQ, with all the patterns and the confirmation that we saw, falling just shy of the 886, that's still fine. I'm not really too concerned about it that we didn't hit the 886, and I've seen enough to say that, okay, this is going to be a longer time to digest that move. Your 886 is right there. It was what, 392, 391. Yeah, you got to what was that? Like 385, 387, which was perfect shark. But what I'm thinking is that longer term, just so you know, you come down, you do the type 1 pullback, and then that sets up where you have something larger, your 1618 breakout, if that's next year, gives you the makings of what we would say is a deep crab pattern. Look, the challenge with this is only time to wait through. We go through all these sessions into next year to even have that become a consideration. But I'll tell you right now, that would be the thinking for where we are to set that up, and then our big opportunity, much like we had a big opportunity in a lot of those patterns last October, would be the next level continuation is there. You would want crypto to do, you want crypto or Bitcoin to make a big move, first thrust move, and then a pullback move before it even accelerates. And it's not happening yet. It just hasn't happened. So these are still the markets to be in. Still be looking at the tech, still look at the Qs, the SPYs, those options. But I keep saying everything's a reaction right now. Still is a reaction until we finish this type 1 pullback. And then we'll go, on something potentially larger towards the end of the year. But remember, I said this last time, the NASDAQ 100 was up 45% at the high. Now it's probably still around 40%, but historically, book that for the year. You're not going to do much better than that in any calendar year. So let's just settle in, right? Anybody who's here, folks that you're still here, appreciate everyone coming out. Hit subscribe and the like button. And let's give away one more gold membership. I'm going to do something. I think I'm going to do one more options, but we'll do that like right around maybe early September. Let me a couple ideas on that. But next person that types in GOLD, become a gold member for 30 days. You guys get over to harmonictrader.com and get with not only TradingView, but the option seminar is, or the option platform I'm using that I use in the seminar is eSignal. So a couple people asked me about that. Read the instructions, please. Okay, and you have to pay for the data, but that's what I'm working on these charts. That's why, like I said, we can do this all day long. Yeah, here's the 368s. and you can trade those. And this is actually something to think about, even if you have like a lower account to be sizing up with lower risks, something like that. It's a perfect opportunity. A couple $100 in that type of trade as a day trade. Think about it. Consider it. I've been talking options all summer long for a reason, and it goes on both sides, puts and calls. Yeah, here we go. Yep. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me. Let me know if I can help get you started with this. Beyond that, we'll be back on Tuesday. All right. Do look at the most recent sessions, because we're going to follow through with this and stick with our type 1 plan as the pause continues. Until then, come on back next week. Have a great weekend. Winners, please hook up on the Discord with Miss Stephanie to submit your information to get set up with the membership. All right, guys. As always, thanks again. Have a great one. Go get them. We'll see you next time.